Iran loves Israel.
Iran loves Israel. Yes, it does. Iranians love Israel. Iranians are natural allies with Israeli people. I've
Well,
been showing that. I've
not
been making a lot of.
Iranians. Iran, the government.
No, not
Isn't
Iran.
it like in the charter? Like, isn't like death to Israel in the charter or something? Or is that the Houthis? Am I
Okay.
confusing?
Please don't say. Please don't. Here's a request. Please don't call the government of Iran Iran. Okay, Iranian people are very picky about this because they don't think, because there's such a huge gap between the government and the people, that a lot of Iranian people don't think it's fair to refer to the regime in
Fair
power right
enough.
now in Iran as Iran. So they say
Okay.
Iran is one thing and the regime is another thing. There's
Okay,
no.
that's
I would argue that
totally fair.
there's not a single country in the world with a larger gap between its people and their government than there is right now in Iran.
Okay, yeah, it's totally fair. I mean, I was referring to the government of Iran, but yeah, I
Yeah.
understand.
So
I have
call it
personal.
the Islamic Republic or the Iranian regime. Don't call them Iran,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
Okay,
Appreciate
not
that.
Iran,
Appreciate
Iranian regime. I have Persian friends.
Yes.
I understand how much you guys fucking hate the government of Iran.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
Thank you. Thank you for knowing that. Please tell more people about it.
yeah.
Appreciate
What do
it.
you think
All right.
is? I guess like I think feel like we covered this a bit, but what do you feel like is gonna be the future for Iran? Like, what do you think is like? Do you think there's ever a chance
Oh.
that there could be uprising that's successful?
Okay, there are going to be uprisings. Whether or not they're going to be successful or not, I honestly don't know. I think every single time there is an uprising, the people get a bit stronger and the government gets a little bit weaker. So at some point, this government goes away like at some point. I think this government is going to end. I just don't know what the shape is going to be. Is it going to be out of because millions of people are in the street, or is it because the pressure on the government is so much that there's going to be a coup d'etat, or is it going to be so much pressure on the government that they're going to do a slow gradual change until they're not the Islamic Republic anymore? I don't know which form it's going to be, but the divide between the people and the regime is so high that I cannot imagine that this regime being able to just be just survive for
Yeah,
long like this again. Yeah,
but hasn't that been the case for a while? I mean, I know you guys have been fucked
it's been
since like
40
the
years, more than
yeah
40 years. Yes, but
yeah
the gap, but the thing is that what has changed is the gap, right?
yeah the
So
gap is
the support for the regime is unbelievably low, and it's hard to imagine if it keeps dropping with the next generation, because
I feel like that was
as
like
low
the
as it
case for
is.
I feel like that was the case for like Saddam Hussein. Like he was a Sunni minority or Shia minority in a Sunni majority current. Like most of the people were not with him.
No,
When
he's
these
a
dictators,
Shia, is a Shia majority with a Sunni ruler, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
um, yeah, but still, even with the Sunni Shia divide, the divide was not as high as it is right
Okay.
now in Iran. Yeah, because because it's not about Shia and Sunni anymore. The Shia, even the majority of Shias hate the regime. Even the majority of religious people
No,
hate the regime.
I understand. Yeah, I understand the Iranian regime is very well hated. I guess just one more question on that. Do you think like there's a lot of talk about sanctions and whether they punish the government, the Iranian government, or the Iranian people? Do you think that's an effective remedy, or do you think that the sanctions actually wind up punishing regular Iranian people, or equally to, or as much as they do the Iranian regime?
So this is a huge debate among Iranians themselves. A lot of Iranians welcome the sanctions, and a lot of Iranians don't. Right. So the Iranians who welcome the sanctions, they say that when once every time the Democrats reduce the sanctions, our lives do not get better. That they have seen that the sanctions, whenever there's an appeasement, or whenever the United States tries to use the carrot instead of the stick, the Iranian regime gets more bold. They support more terrorist activities, and they don't use the money that they receive to better the lives of the people. So a lot of people support the sanctions. However, what I would say is that I support a smarter form of sanctions, because I support the sanctions on oil and gas, because that's the revenue for the government. But I think within the sanctions there should be an exception. Right now, the sanctions regime that we have for on Iran doesn't let Iranian people in Iran to sell their services to outside of Iran. And I
Mm.
think that is undeserved. I think we should increase the sanctions on oil and gas because that hits the government more than the people, but with it, reduce, like, decriminalize foreign companies and foreign individuals hiring people from Iran over the internet. Because I think if you open the door to people hiring from Iran while increasing the sanctions on oil and gas, you're rebalancing the wealth from the government. You're taking
Yeah,
wealth from the government and you're giving the wealth to the people, and you're basically empowering the people against their government. So that's the form of
yeah,
sanctions
that
that
makes
I would
sense.
suggest.
I don't know as much about this issue, but that makes sense what you're saying. And one last question on this, I guess, because I'm curious. I always found like, what would you say are the differences in terms of a regime between Saudi Arabia and Iran? Because I always found it interesting that America is best friends with Saudi Arabia, who's also a very, who's also a dictatorship.
Mm.
But Iran is like public enemy number one. And I understand why Iran is an enemy. I'm not saying that that shouldn't be the case. I'm just like, what would you say in terms of the governments is the difference between MBS, what he's doing right now with Saudi Arabia, and the Iranian government? I mean, they're both. I'll let you answer the question.
Right. So we have dictatorships, but most dictatorships don't benefit from instability. Like, we can criticize, they are worthy of being criticized for being mean to their people, for lack of human rights, for many other issues, for having no freedom of speech and all of that. And all those criticisms are justified. However, they make it possible for other governments and regimes to be working with them because there's something that benefits both themselves and their people, and that's stability. Stability brings trade, trade brings prosperity, and
To be
even though these
fair,
countries are
Iran
taking,
does work with Russia and China, right?
well, yeah, well, the problem is Russia. Here's the thing: China is different. China prefers stability. Okay, Russia and the Islamic Republic of Iran are a little bit closer to each other because they are like they prefer this instability. But mostly the Islamic Republic of Iran. So the difference between Saudi Arabia, again, I'm no fan of MBS. I think he's a monster who killed so many Yemeni people. He is responsible for the greatest humanitarian crisis of our lifetime that
You're talking
a
about
lot of
Yemen.
Arabs and Muslims in Yemen, yeah, which a lot of people don't talk about
Yeah, I
because,
agree. But not a lot of
again,
people talk about.
yeah,
And
because
America is supporting it with
because they're
weapons.
not being bombed by Jews. That's the difference. Okay,
I
that's why people talk more about
disagree on that,
Palestinians
but
rather than Yemenis. But again, that's the form that those are Muslims and Arabs that people don't talk about. We talk about it a lot on our channel. So I consider Mohammed bin Salman to be a monster. However, this is a monster that wants stability. They want less tensions because their power and their economy is tied into stability. Like, if you look at all the dictators and all the governments around that area, Qatar, uh, uh, UAE, Egypt, Saudi Arabia. They have governments with questionable human rights records, but again, they can work with other countries because they benefit from stability. The Islamic Republic of Iran, their internal power structure, and their economy, it has this weird. I can go into so much details, but it has become such an odd situation that they actually benefit. They gain more power by causing instability in the region, and it's economically in their benefit. More instability, more tension, more war in the region. It actually benefits them both financially and power-wise. So that's why they have become such a tumor for everybody in the Middle East, and that's why they become such a menace in the region that they have managed to get everybody closer together because everybody is realizing how big of
no.
a threat the Islamic Republic is, to the point that Arabs are working with Israel. Like, nothing would have been able to bring Arabs to close to Israel in such a way that the Islamic Republic has done. Like, Arabs and Israel were fighting for the entirety of the
No,
history of Israel.
I
So
understand what you're saying. Yeah, I was just curious to hear your
yeah,
perspective
yeah.
of that. I do think we should do some point maybe a debate about you can like have some time to look at the studies about the widespread the widespread anti-Semitism, because that's an interesting topic that I haven't like covered too much. But
Okay.
I think like you and I agree a lot when it comes to like generally foreign politics. We just disagree when it comes to Israel a bit, but I think we generally have agree when it comes to just overall the way the world works on worldwide politics. But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it was fun. I think we should, yeah.
And we have the same goal. We want less civilians dead. I think both of
Well, we
us.
want
That's what
less
we want.
people dead in general, I think, right?
I
Well,
mean, the
less
people
good people, less
killing
good people.
people,
Dead.
we would
Yeah,
probably.
yeah. We
Yeah,
want
yeah.
less civilians dead. Okay,
We
I'll
want
change that.
okay. Yeah, yeah, okay. Yeah, sure. Let's. We want less. How about this? We want less misery.
Who
That's
wants
what we
me
want.
or you or Israel versus Palestine or what?
No, no. Me and you, we both want high. We want more
Oh,
peace, more stability.
oh
We
yeah,
want
yeah,
less
yeah. Of
misery
course.
for the world. We have
Yeah, yeah.
that goal. I mean, I think a lot of people hate each other because they think the other side is evil. I think establishing that I want less misery in the world and you want less misery in the world. We just seem to disagree on how to get there. I think having that first agreement will make us not hate each other because a lot of people think the other side that is disagreeing with them, they are
Yeah, they're
moral
monsters.
monsters. Maybe they enjoy people suffering, and I think that's such a horrible assumption that will make the debate not go anywhere. I think if you assume the other side probably wants the same thing as you, they want less people suffering. They just have a disagreement over how we can get there. I think that will make the discussion a lot more productive if you assume that about the other side. Did you agree?
Yeah, yeah, of course. I think 99% of people on each side of this are like normal, rational, like relatively kind people. I think, yeah, it's a shame that like, yeah, like it is a shame that like, for example, sometimes the people on the, let's just say on the right, like the pro-Israel side, will just say that like, oh, you're just terrorist sympathizers, you just hate Jews, and then on the left you say, oh, you're just pro-genocide, you hate Arabs. I think that's a shame because I think the vast majority of people don't hate Jews or hate Arabs. I think the vast majority of people are just operating in different sets of facts and have a different narrative in their head. And I think that's
Yeah, but
this,
also the worst intentions that I could feel for a lot of that I might assume for a lot of people is a lot of these people don't actually care about Jews or Arabs, and they just want to be seen. Do you agree that sometimes I feel like it's about, hey, look at me, I am,
like
look at how virtuous.
Rabbi Shmuley or whatever.
No, yeah, no, like just like even like people like look how virtuous I'm being. Like look how good like I'm fighting for a cause. Like it's not
Yeah, for sure.
about
Yeah, there's a
oh
lot of virtue signaling in
yeah,
every. Yeah, I agree with that
yeah,
100%. I think most like a lot of
right.
people are virtue signaling. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
All right. Overall, how was our discussion? Like, were you? I'm sorry, like I didn't let you speak sometimes, but overall, were you happy with the way that this discussion went? Like, would you?
Yeah, overall, I
Wait.
thought it was a good discussion. I think it would have been better if I came more organized in terms of the points I want to get through because I feel like we jumped around a bit. But
Right.
that's every time I do this type of debate, we always jump around. So I've never had a debate where we didn't jump around. Maybe that's just part of the course. But the only thing that I can think of that might have been better is if we narrowed down on a subtopic. Like okay, let's talk about Israeli
Right.
army war crimes and just focus on that. That's the only thing that I can think of that could have made the debate better. But
I would
overall,
like to see focusing on not the existence of war crime, but something
systemic.
that
Systemic.
shows that this is like I haven't seen like maybe I'm blinded to or something, but I would like to some for somebody to show me that
Let me
this is
send
not just
you. Yeah, let me send you the Where's Daddy article, and you can take a look at that your own time. I'll be honest, I personally haven't really gone through it very thoroughly, but I did skim through it. So here it is. I'll send in the private chat. So take a look at that your own time. This is the one about the AI thing, and you can send me a message. Let me know what you think. Uh, but yeah, man, cool. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Can you can you mention your channel and what's your YouTube channel again, Alex?
Yeah, it's called Playing with Fire, but there's not much politics on there. If you guys want like dating advice or comedy or like how to pick up girls and all that, that's what you'll see on there. Politics. There's a few
Okay.
Destiny Israel debates, but that's about it. I don't do politics too often.
Okay, you should. You're good at it. I mean, I think it's
It's not.
interesting the way you think.
Yeah, it's fun. It's not my forte though. I prefer to focus on what I
Okay.
focus on. But I appreciate the discussion, man. Thanks for having me on. And yeah, I'm totally
Yeah, well,
down to do
thank you.
widespread anti-Semitism debate at some point in the future. That's a fun topic that I haven't covered.
Sounds good. Let's do that
All right,
then.
buddy. Take it easy.
All right. You too.